Jefferson Robbins with NCWLIFE. After major fire incidents, when he can, Chief Brian Brett with the Wenatchee Valley Fire Department tries to show up and give us a brief rundown of what happened. Last night, Brian, you had some pretty exciting times.
Last night, yes, at 2:45 in the afternoon, our first significant wildfire of the season kicked off.
Can you tell me a little bit about, what the initial reports were and what you were looking at when your people got there?
Initial reports were a fire in the landfill, and when our first crews arrived, they saw the fire had extended from the origin area of the landfill, and it was 10 acres and growing, up a slope and wind-driven. So the incident rapidly escalated from there.
And when you have a fire moving that quickly through that kind of terrain, how far out ahead of it do you have to get to develop your defensive lines?
Depends on the flame lengths, on whether we can go direct or indirect on it. Direct is right against the fire, indirect is further away from it. We got out ahead of it, and let me just take a moment to thank the people who made this successful in addition to our whole region. We had a dozer from Waste Management that deployed, putting a line around the fire, and KTS Construction had 2 water trucks and a dozer that they deployed, and it was critical to the success of this incident. They pretty much went direct, lining this fire. We went out to Keene Grade, looked down, scouted for an alternate dozer line in case we had to get way out ahead of it and punch another dozer line in and try and hold it before it went up into Keene Grade.
Because those roads that move up into Waterville Plateau, those are sensitive areas, tend to burn fast, and your concern was it would rise up Keene Grade, go up Batterman Road, and start to develop on the plateau. Yes,
on the plateau, then it's into the wheat fields, values at risk, and crops, and the complexity and difficulty of once it gets over into those drainages is far more difficult to extinguish. We historically have had to get a national type 2 or 1 team in place to manage those incidents.
And in this case, you were close to calling for a state mobilization, which would have brought in more resources from out of the area. You wound up not having to do that.
Yes, we had our state mobilization coordinator respond as part of our third alarm resource request, and he was ready to pull the trigger for state mobilization had we not had success by the end of the evening.
Did you have air support for this fire?
We did. We had 3 helicopters on scene for this one that played a critical role in it. I don't have the bucket drop count. I'll have that report this morning, but they put in a lot of work.
In terms of how much water they had to get from the river and bring to the scene?
Yes, they were using a pond on private property. I suspect, I can't confirm, but I believe it might have been KTS's pond, who again played a huge role in the success of this fire. They dipped out of that all afternoon long into the evening.
So the control was established pretty quickly. I think you guys were done before the sunset. What time did you have it wrapped up?
7 p.m. Yeah, that was great. That's our goal. We always want to knock these things out in the first operational period and not have to go to state mobilization and not have an extended incident. We throw everything we can get our hands on at these things as hard as we can.
So just over 4 hours of fighting the fire. Nonetheless, you wound up with a burned area of 554 acres was the number that I saw.
Yes, 554 acres, wind-driven. Again, these fires in the shrub steppe and light flashy fuels, when they have wind behind them, they are difficult to stop.
Get any injuries or any structures lost?
No structures lost and no reported injuries.
That's the best kind of news.
Yes.
The origin point for this, we believe, is the Greater Wenatchee Regional Landfill, operated by Waste Management. I think you mentioned to me earlier, you won't know causes for a while until your fire marshal is able to investigate.
Yes, our fire marshal was assigned to a structure protection group and leading a group of resources on the east flank of the fire last night, and obviously engaged in combat and unable to do an origin and cause investigation. He's out there this morning driving the perimeter of the fire, so he'll probably start the investigation this morning.
This was designated as the Webb Fire, or was there another name attached to it?
When I placed the order for air resources, I called it the Webb Fire, and that's what it's officially classified in the Wildcat system. However, we were referring to it as the Waste Management Land Fire, or Waste Management Fire. We try not to name incidents after a specific industry or entity because it can be inferred there's culpability there, which is not the case. For example, we had a fire up Number 2 Canyon a few years ago that was close to the gun club. We called it the gun club fire, and people assumed it was started at the gun club, and that wasn't the case.
It's a practice of looking for geographic indicators and naming the fire from there.
Yes, yeah, that's the easiest way to do it.
Anything else you think we should know about this particular incident, Brian?
Great success on this incident. Another round of thanks to our region's fire departments. An incident like this completely taps out our local resources, our neighboring areas' resources as well. The Department of Natural Resources was crucial in this. They deployed a hand crew that worked the western flank. The western flank ended up getting close to threatening the Sabey data centers and Northern Fruit. That hand crew, in conjunction with the helicopters, the dozers, and our resources, played a key role to securing that line.
Well, thanks to you and to everybody who took a part in fighting this fire.
Great team. Thank you.
Chief Brian Brett with the Wenatchee Valley Fire Department. Glad you could be here.
Thanks, anytime.
You're watching the NCWLIFE channel.